Good evening, everybody. Welcome to tonight. We are talking Iron Sky, a film that was made, well, from backers and, trying to put the film together with outside interference, from major studios. And really, they produced a masterpiece, really, and now it's a cult classic. How would
Yeah,
you?
I was just looking up the cast. It's amazing. We don't know anybody from this group. I don't think there's a single personality with the exception of
Uh,
Udo
Udo
Kier.
Goliath, yeah, he was, in a number of good films. But Gozzo Otto, he was in a James Bond film. He played henchman number one or something, and I think the film was Tomorrow Never Dies.
Okay,
He had blonde hair at that time, and we're talking about bleached blonde hair.
right. I'm thinking Peter Sargent as well looks a little familiar, but I can't really place my finger on whether or not I've seen her in anything before.
Yeah,
But I'm looking at some of the shows she's been in, and it's not much. It's a really strange thing to see a movie of this quality level with such a passion behind it, and it's like you basically don't know anybody, and even the people you do know, it's pretty much like B-list or C-list actors and actresses. It's kind of funny.
yeah. It to me with this film, it you said it's like B movie actresses or actors, right? But this feels like a B movie from the 1950s, early 60s. That's what it feels like in my own opinion. Is that it's made on a decent budget. It's not, taking on like a whole load of like Hollywood special effects and that. It's
Yeah,
just, it was just, they did the film because there was like, what is it, rumors? No, not rumors. Theories that there were Nazis on the dark side of the moon.
yeah. I mean, it's a spoof on the entire conspiracy genre in the first place.
Yeah, and it's not made by, how can I put it, Hollywood, right? It was made by I think, a Finnish director,
Hmm.
and he did a film called Star Trek. Parodying Star Trek.
Okay, so he's got a history. He's got some history of parody
Yeah.
in his catalog.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes. And good evening, Jim. He brings up this interesting comment. This film is definitely punching well above its weight, far beyond the strength, and not even taking itself too seriously. All the ingredients are there for a fantastic film, which is true.
Yep.
Which is true. You would not. To me, if they didn't do the sequel, this would be like a one-hit wonder.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny how many people are spooked away as soon as I mention that there are Nazis in it. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Nobody shies away from a Frankenstein movie or a vampire movie, or yeah, it's strange how that these characters in any form kind of
Yes.
spook people out, even
Yeah.
out of stuff that's good.
Yeah. And the thing is, it goes to the whole progress of what you call satire,
Hmm.
which is absolute. The thing is with satire is that you've got to have a laugh with it, and you can't take it too seriously. If you take it too seriously, then where's the fun in it?
Right.
Also, yeah, I know it's Nazis, but in our eyes, who watched the film and understood it, it's taking the piss out of the Nazis.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. In much
So
the same way that Blazing Saddles does the
yeah.
same with rednecks.
Hmm. Oh yes. The, the, another thing is, I know it's a cast of unknowns and that, but the way they play their characters is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, that's why I think it's bizarre, because you would think you've heard of these people
Yeah,
because they're all playing at their best game.
yeah. And another thing is Julia Deities, who's playing the lead role in this.
Mm-hmm. Pretty
She's
much, yeah.
just a teacher, but she's grew up on the moon, and she's not seen what Nazism truly means.
Right.
She's just been like force fed it as a child, and now she's got older. She's she thinks Nazism is a symbol of peace. That's why they say in the film, "We come in peace from the dark side of the moon."
Right.
Until she gets to Earth, and because there's a bit in the film where they showed the Great Dictator.
Right, and it's a short film for them.
Yeah, it's heavily edited down until she watches the actual movie. When she gets to Earth.
Yeah, she goes through a tragedy arc because her all of her gods are taken away, basically.
Yeah. Meanwhile, her husband to be wants to, take over the Earth, but he wants to become the next Führer.
Well, he's in line to become the next Führer, right? I mean, isn't there like this whole power struggle going on between him and the Commandant?
Yes. Yeah. And I noticed one thing in the film is with the Commandant is that every time everyone goes Heil Hitler, he doesn't.
Right.
So when they say Heil Hitler, he doesn't. He just makes an excuse for it.
What are the chances that she would see Chaplin and skinheads on the same night? Those are Hollywood magic terms, my friend.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes.
But it was New York in that time period, so it's possible. It is possible that two things would happen simultaneously, especially if the cameras were looking at that street corner when the film first premiered at that theater.
Yeah.
There probably would have been some protesters, which means there would have been some skinheads coming by as well to haggle the protesters. I mean, could you see like a liberal group standing in front of the theater saying, "Don't go see this movie"?
Yeah.
Because Charlie Chaplin's a socialist and he's talking about Adolf Hitler, right? Like they just double ban the movie outright.
Yeah.
Some wacky intellectual group or something.
She's got a comment. PJ's got a comment here. Hail me, very Mel Brooks. Oh yes. Oh yes. Let's go from the beginning, like of this film. Right at the beginning.
Yes.
You've got James Washington, right? And I forgot the other astronaut's name. They land on the moon. They just come in, like they haven't noticed it from orbit. They just come in, land on the moon, and then it's like, right, drop the banners. Oh, do we have to? And then you've got the banners that get dropped. You think, who's going to vote for her all the way out there?
Well, because it's going to be telecast, so the banners have to be in the background of every single shot. Like she's personally financed this moon landing or something. Like it's almost on that level.
Yeah. And then James Washington trips over, he's having and apparently it turns out he's a model.
Yeah, even he is a promotional stunt.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
And then the NASA hates him. The astronauts hate him.
Yeah.
But he's gonna play it out. It's a paying gig. He's gonna do his he's gonna do right by it. So he's gonna give it his best shot.
Meanwhile, the fellow astronaut has walked off and gone, searching for helium-3 until he looks over the edge and goes, "What the hell?" Meanwhile, they're being stalked by a small group of space Nazis who's
Yeah,
watching.
basically like a small platoon patrol.
Yeah, yeah. And then they shoot the guy and then capture James Washington.
Right. Now, at this point, nobody knows who this guy is, what he
Nope.
looks like. Even the
Nope.
audience has not seen him with his helmet off.
Yep.
We've heard him speak, so we can get a kind of a vibe as to who this guy might be.
Yeah.
He definitely has a Jamie Foxx kind of vibe about him,
Mm-hmm.
even from the get-go.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we get a full Jamie Foxx vibe when they pull off his helmet.
Yeah, even a parody that they could not make these nowadays, turn a black man white. Yeah,
Yeah, that's brilliant. That's just brilliant.
it is very clever.
And it's probably something that they would do too. That
Yes.
they would be perfectly capable of doing to make sure that they were all genetically suitable with each other.
Mm.
God only knows what he was pumping into him to make that happen. It was probably straight out bleach.
Yeah. Yeah, we knew one had a white suit and one had a dark suit. That is true. That's
Funny.
what the thing is. They just, he just gets taken back, and then they all like wonder who he is and that, and they're discovered, and he tries to make his escape, and it didn't work.
Yeah.
And then they give him over to the mad professor, who turns out to be the teacher's father. And they realise that his mobile phone is a new piece of technology, and they said, "This is that's a little computer, like pocket computer." And the mad professor goes, "That you called that a computer?" And then he goes up to this wall full of machinery and says, "This is a computer."
Meanwhile, he doesn't even hesitate to eat his own hat when he introduces them to the new computer in the form of this cell phone. And he plugs almost the whole space station into this one phone, and it works better than it ever has before. Absolutely brilliant stuff. But
yes.
I think the funniest message in here is the activity that happens in the classroom. Like, because, okay, the Americans land, they get captured, right? The other astronauts get shot. The one in the capsule gets blown up.
Yeah.
And they take the guy in the gray suit back to their headquarters, and we get introduced to what the current hierarchy is. There's a guy who's aging out. All the generals are really old. They're part of the old guard. And the new generation is 6'3", all handsome and beautiful. And we see that the technology they're playing around with is basically a fleet of UFOs.
Yeah.
That they're all Nazi-style UFOs. It's hysterical. Yeah. And we're like, wow, these guys are geared up for war. I mean, they got machine guns and spacesuits, and these guys have been here for a while, and it's totally believable construction as well.
But the thing is, they're digging for helium-3, which is to power their machines.
Yeah.
To keep them going.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing I like to bring up is they must have taken a lot of resources with them in the beginning, after the end of World War II, to make a huge setup on the moon.
Yes, well, they're very industrious.
Yes.
They're all working for Adolf, so they're going to be really ambitious about all of this.
Yeah, but they don't but the thing is, they escaped at the end of the war, but I think they don't know if the Führer's dead or alive. That's the thing. But they have been sending UFOs to Earth,
Right. To find out, to do recon missions.
Yeah, yes. So, in the meantime, you've got the kids, you've got the families, all this and that, just going about their day by day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, BJ, this is it. that was a funny part. They built the big shit that could not fly until they got a new phone, and in the day they created the USB and programmed it to work with their technology. Yeah,
That's right. Because he's that smart. Because they're the mega sciences. The mega scientist is he's just that clever. He was able to do it in a day.
yeah,
He
oh yeah,
in one breath he's told by this guy that's of another race that this thing is indeed a pocket computer, and he denies it outright. But
mm-hmm.
after doing a little bit more research, he discovers, yeah, this thing really is a computer.
Oh
But he's
yeah,
not smart enough to realize the battery needs to be recharged, which is
that's true.
hysterical.
Yep.
But
Now,
the funniest
sorry.
part of this film is the classroom sequence where she's
Yeah,
teaching the children that they're harbingers of peace, that they're going to bring a new world to these people, and they'll open up their arms and feed the world and
yep,
start production. And it's the classic, all the classic tropes of a supervillain gone wrong.
yes, yeah. Now I just want to turn your attentions to the president of the United States.
Yes, which is
Could
the other side of the coin. Absolutely
could
hysterical.
could you? Hello, Roman. Could you give us a like? Oh, can you just tell me as a Brit about the way they portray? Because I'm not a great follower of
U.S.
politics.
politics.
Yeah.
Yes. So once we find out that our hero is basically trapped on the moon with these crazy, dark side of the moon Nazis,
Yeah.
the camera slips very casually down to the world, to the Earth, and we get into the White House, and we discover that her Madam President is speaking to her boyfriend, who also works at the United Nations as Security Council, and it's Sarah Palin,
Yeah.
a female president. So we're talking about. That's what one of the thing about this film, that's it's layered with all these meta things that are actually kind of taking place as we speak almost. Imagine if Hillary Clinton was elected in 2016 instead of Donald Trump. We would almost have this movie in real
Mm,
time, especially with the coup on the heels of her election. So that would have been
mhm.
hysterical to see how Hillary Clinton would have reacted to all this.
Oh yes.
But she basically sent this rocket up to the moon as a promotional device to get her reelected.
Yeah.
And she's kind of pissed off at her advertising manager for even suggesting such a thing. She's
I know.
continuously throwing blame at everybody else but herself. And she's talking about all of her constituents as bitches. Yeah,
Mm.
bitches, come on, get it, bitches. I'm going to give it to you. Here I come, bitches.
Now most
It's
of the
like,
time she's on that exercise machine.
yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. And oh goodness, once the film really gets going, we'll get to it. The bit about North Korea is absolutely hysterical
I know.
because they're having an emergency United Nations meeting because they finally realize that there are really Nazis on the moon and they might be in trouble with all of this.
Yeah.
And North Korea claims responsibility, and everybody just laughs.
I know.
Everybody just laughs. It's yes, our glorious leader decided to build this with his supervision of the future. He realized that this was the only way, and they just start laughing him out. And he's like, "What? What?" And he eventually sits down, totally humiliated, hysterical though,
And
and
I think that's
everybody just bursts into laughter without any hesitation whatsoever.
I think that's when Kim Jong Il was still alive
Mm-hmm.
at that time. That's why
Yeah, this
they
is
started.
2012.
Yeah.
We were still dealing 2012. We were dealing with Obama getting reelected for second
Oh
term.
yeah. Oh yeah. That's why you got the parody of Sarah Palin.
Uh huh.
So
Yeah, because it was supposed to be Mitt Romney and her, I think, as they were trying that game out to see if a female vice president would work.
mm-hmm. Yeah. The one thing I liked is the way they used the CG effects in this. They made it really look convincing.
Yeah.
You know, you wouldn't think. I think it was with like CGI effects done right. Because yeah, we know a lot of it was filmed on green screen, especially being, you know, the industrious side of the whole thing.
Right. Yeah. Well, they didn't build any sets for the moon except for
Yeah,
maybe the classroom or something like that. And those were just set dresses.
yeah, but it just goes to show that for a film with an a euro budget of 7.5 million,
Mm-hmm.
they knew what they were doing. Yes, they had to get several backers and all that for this film. But I think when they showed the teaser trailer to the backers, I think that's what convinced them. And during that time, it was pre 2016.
Yes. Very much so.
It's it's still back in the times when you could have a laugh and not take offence too much.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and if this film was made today, it wouldn't be the same.
Oh, yeah. They couldn't make it.
Yeah.
They couldn't make it. And she wouldn't. It's. Yeah. I don't even like to speculate on such things because it would quite literally have been a mess.
Oh
I'm
yes.
seeing. What the? I'm seeing that there's an alternate in the second one, The Coming Race, which they actually do a depiction of Donald Trump,
Mm.
which is madness all on its own. Considering that the most powerful character, this
Yeah.
film has 4 powerful female characters in it,
Yes.
all up front.
Mm-hmm.
We got the president, we got the female lead coming from the moon, we got the advertising agent, and we've got the commander of the USS George W. Bush at the climax of the film.
I think that's the same woman.
No, she's the assigned commander who's the advertising agent,
Ah,
but there's
right.
actually a Starfleet
Gotcha.
level,
Yeah.
Space Command female
Mm.
captain of the ship, and she's constantly questioning whether or not this kind of force needs to be used all the time, but she's just talked out of it because
Yeah.
the president is basically just like, kick their butts. And it's like, yeah, exactly. I mean, they wouldn't be, the circumstances wouldn't be any different. They're doing the same things that a guy would do, which
Yeah.
is kick ass, get
Yep.
reelected, woohoo.
And especially that line, all presidents in their first term of re-election always start a war.
Any president that
Yeah.
starts a war in their first term always gets reelected.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh God. How true is that?
I don't know. It didn't really work for John F. Kennedy, but
No.
he didn't really start a war. He allowed a police action.
Yeah. Well, and another thing I just want to. The thing is, what made me well, not made me fall in love with him, but really got me to watch it was something different at the time.
Yes. Yeah. And very well constructed. Even as a comedy, everything works organically. There's a natural flow to the plot line.
Yeah.
All the technology makes sense. Nothing takes any kind of grand leaps. You're not supposed to be taking this very seriously at all. But the universe takes itself very seriously.
Yeah. Oh yes. But
So after
the
the action is basically all introduced, we get the president reacting to this. We get introduced that there's a conversation in the United Nations about who the heck are these guys.
Oh yeah.
And the action starts boiling over, and they need to replace the iPhone computer, the pocket computer.
Yeah.
So they send a recon mission to the Earth, and they're going to take the James Washington character with them as a
Yeah.
kind of ambassador, because he says he knows who the president is.
Yeah.
So they go down to the Earth. He doesn't realize he's been bleached white. He's no longer a
I
black
know.
man. And they're bumping into gang members playing
I know.
basketball. They're bumping into skinheads. And they eventually wind up getting introduced to an advertising agency.
Yeah.
And she hears their whole spiel and is just like, this is the president's second term speech campaign. And she
Yeah.
basically hires these two Nazis to become the president's mouthpiece.
Yeah. Oh,
Which is
yes.
a brilliant turn of events. And then we get a time jump of almost a year, don't we? Or 6 months at
I
least?
think 6 months. I think it's not just that. It's just another thing about James Washington is that, you know, he was just in it for that like beginning period, especially the
Right.
joke when he comes out when he looks at his penis
Yeah.
and he goes, "Don't tell me you change everything." Oh no, man, you did. You know.
Yeah. How that wound up happening anyway is just
I
such
know.
an easy. It's an easy joke. All of his jokes are easy.
Yeah, and then he gets kicked out from the van,
Mm-hmm.
and then they just leave him behind.
Yeah. They just leave him to his own devices. They don't care. They're hooked
Yeah,
up. They don't care.
yeah. And then later on, you just see him as a hobo, and
Yeah. He's ranting in the streets. Like, the Nazis are coming. The Nazis are coming.
yeah, and then Richard sees him, and you know helps him, and then all chaos goes loose because you know the commandant has had enough, and you know the battle begins. You know, let's invade the earth.
Yep. And
And then,
dozens of zeppelins,
I
space
know,
zeppelins,
I know,
and they're
towing asteroids or meteors, whatever they're called. You know, towing them. And inside they've got the UFOs, and the UFOs shoot out.
it's actually quite a brilliant plan if you look at it on the face of it.
Yeah,
They're going to bombard the Earth with large scale meteors, and these things are invasion carriers that have dozens and dozens of flying saucers on board.
yeah.
And the Earth is in a lot of trouble by the time this thing climaxes. But no, we got the George W. Bush that we're gonna kick some ass. We got
I
rail
know.
guns, we got laser guns, we got rocket guns, we got guns, baby.
They got nuclear missiles.
And
Uh,
everybody in the United Nations is like, you lied to us, you lied to us.
yeah, and then what happens? What 10 minutes later, they turn up, and there's the near space station. They said that's supposed to burn up in orbit, and it's freaking, you know, a
Yeah,
weapons
they've
platform.
weaponized the Mir space station. Every single nation on the planet has some sort of
Yeah,
a weaponized platform up there,
yeah,
including India. Oh,
I
and
know,
that poor Indian ambassador.
I know.
He's wearing his ring, his Buddhist ring, and it
Yeah,
has a swastika on there. And he goes, "No, no, no! It wasn't me. It wasn't us. It was all. We are very peaceful. No, it's not us."
yeah.
So many
We'll get
great
that eventually.
bits in this movie.
I know, and the thing is, yeah, they're all working together and all this and that. Yes, we know, except Finland because they forgot. But that's the thing. The Finns taking the piss out of each other, piss out of themselves because of that.
Well, it's produced in Finland, so of course
Yeah,
they would never say that their country does such
yeah,
silliness. Everybody else is wrong, which
yeah.
is a joke in itself, right? Because
Oh
it's
yes,
produced by that company. It's almost like an agreement. You can't have us be the bad guys at all.
I know. And
Hysterical.
you just go from there into you know they all take out the invasion force, and then they move on to the moon. Meanwhile, Klaus is getting the weapons platform ready.
Mm-hmm.
and Richard and Washington turn up, and they're trying to put a stop to it. And then they launched the weapons platform because they managed to do it.
Yeah, they launched their ultimate weapon. The Nazis launched their ultimate weapon in the form of some gigantic, as big as their whole city size UFO. But there's a sequence where the George W. Bush and the rest of the Earth fleet decides to take out the entire Nazi installation on the moon.
I know.
And there's women and children down there, and they're just like, she just jokingly says, tongue in cheek, our super villainous commander. I mean, she literally has feathers, black feathers behind her head.
Yeah.
I mean, she's a super villain right out of some Japanese TV show.
I know.
She's like, we don't negotiate with terrorists. It's like, wait, that doesn't even make sense. What are you even trying to say? What are you talking about?
I know.
They were never terrorists. They're an invading army, you silly girl.
Yeah.
Hysterical.
And how could it be? Yeah. And then the weapon gets launched, and then after that, they say they're getting ready to say, yes, we've got to be, get the Earth in our sights. And they go, yeah, we're not ready yet because we're not in that position. You know, they're not in the right location. And they decide to fire their missiles at the moon's surface, you know, just to blow a chunk in it. And then they've got the view of Earth and then get it ready to do fire again.
Oh, right. That's right. Yeah, they actually aim it at the horizon of the moon to open up a better shot. Yeah. And it winds up almost destroying half of the Earth fleet in the process, right? Yes. Just because of the devastation. And I know what you're talking about. PJ, could you imagine a line of toys?
Oh, that would be good
for this movie. I would buy every single one of the vehicles. I mean, there are so many cool spaceships, and it's just a little boy's dream. Right? It's super army stuff, all combat ready. Oh, absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, and PJ said the exact same thing. Well, it's just that the UN succeeds sort of in the end.
Yes, sort of.
But inside, they don't realise that Richard and Klaus have managed to successfully bring it down. You know, throw a spanner in the works, and it crashes on the surface
of the moon.
And that's it. And after that, what happens? The entire UN finds out about helium-3. And then they all turn on each other.
Right. Yeah, meanwhile, the Zeppelins have released their meteors, and they're coming towards the Earth, whether anybody likes it or not, because gravity is now in charge.
Oh, yeah.
And we get this fantastic global scale Dr. Strangelove event where the asteroids hit. And these things are about as big as Manhattan Island, for crying out loud. They're gigantic meteors. And it basically devastates the whole surface of the Earth. And it's quite literally like, oh well, it's all done. We're done, kids. We just got knocked back into the Stone Age.
Roman, I'm going to say that is now your signature phrase. There's your signature phrase now. Come on, say it.
Predators.
Yeah.
Yes. Predators are Roman's cowbell.
Yep. Oh, Troy. Oh, God. Oh, he said it.
Absolutely fantastic.
It's just we've got a bit of a delay on the StreamYards at the moment.
No, that's pretty standard. That's actually quicker than expected, which means we were all saying it at the same time somewhere in YouTube land.
Oh, yes. Well, I know we're going straight through this movie, but I just want to talk about the elements of this film.
Yeah, actually, just before you get into that, I
Yeah.
wanted to mention that there were two awards that the film
Hmm.
was given. Best Art Direction and Best Visual Effects or Animation. It was the AA. I'm going to bring this up to see what this actually stands for, but it's the Australian Academy of Cinema and Television Arts Award for
Yep.
Best Visual Effects and Animation, and that was for this film's year of
You can
released in
you can
2012, 2013.
you can tell the Australians love the film.
And also the Juicy Award, which I am not entirely familiar with myself, but appears to be a Finnish film award for film
Ah,
industry. And they got it for art direction, which they totally deserve because
yes.
the aesthetics of the moon base are
Mhm.
right out of some science fiction novel from the 50s talking
Oh yeah.
about what future Nazis would look like. It's really just well executed across the board. The design of all the spacecraft
Yeah.
and all the advertising campaigns and the attitude of the advertisers, just delicious content visually.
Mm. And another thing is, they didn't really need to go over the top with the budgets. That's the thing. They knew how to keep it contained.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it almost felt like a really good TV show level budget.
Yeah, because another thing is, this film came about. I think they had the production for it began in 2006. Then in 2008 they produced the teaser trailer for the Cannes Film Festival. Then
Mm-hmm.
and then they slowly started getting ready. So cinematography began in November 2010. So they really took their time with this.
Yep.
And I've got to appreciate it's what you call like a fine wine in a way. You take your time, you let it, what do you call it? I don't know how you in about my winemaking. But
Yeah. I don't know what you I don't know what the term is for the way wine, but it's basically, to put it into tea terms, it's
yeah,
steeping,
yes,
right?
yeah,
That's not what you mature. Thank you,
yeah.
PJ.
Thanks, PJ. Yeah, you just let it mature while you're building it up, and then in the end you get your release. And yeah, it may not make box office bank, but at least you got people say, "Oh, I'll give it a watch," and they enjoyed it. It
I
was
don't see anybody cringing away from the half dozen Nazi-based movies that we got, where it was Nazis with werewolves, Nazis with
yeah,
vampires, Nazis with zombies,
yes,
Nazis with time travel. I Nobody cringes away from that. I mean, what was the name of that Castle whatever video game where you're basically going up against future Nazis? There was
I,
even
I
a
don't
version
know.
of aerial combat where it was future Nazi aircraft were part of the combat sequence
Hmm.
now. And nobody shies away from any of that, but anybody I've ever mentioned this movie to, they get a little cringe
Oh God.
because it's almost like the Nazis are the good guys in this movie, almost, because they're so comedically charming.
I know. I know.
And they're
Ah,
even divided
yeah,
internally. They're divided. She's on one side of the spectrum, who took the message of Adolf and turned it into a message of hope,
yeah.
and he's on the other side. There it is, Castle Wolfenstein. Thank you, Roman.
The thing is with this film, I'm going to talk about the elements now.
Mm-hmm.
About the elements of the film. It's that you've got satire, you've got war, you've got politics, you've got you know the basic where she was left in the dark for the whole thing, which I can't find the word for. You know, or not brainwashing, but believing in.
Indoctrination.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, indoctrination. So you've got all these elements, right? that you put into this film and you produce something absolutely spectacular.
Yep.
Which will never be repeated or remade in its lifetime, and it will be a cult classic. I do not see this film as like, oh, we should not talk about it, right? I just see this as like you introduce your kids to it and say this is a film that you can have a laugh at, but don't take it too seriously. Don't get offended by it. Just go with the flow of the story and see where it takes you.
Well, in the end, nobody's a good guy.
No.
There isn't a single actual good guy in the whole thing. I think she's the closest we come to a good guy, and she's on the wrong side of the fence.
I know. And she's just Miss Innocent in the way.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
And probably what most of Germany was experiencing in real time during World War II.
Yeah.
They were thinking that this guy was their savior. They were thinking that Germany was going to be on top. They were thinking that they had the answers. They had all the correct answers. After all, who doesn't want healthy children and a safe countryside? You know, they weren't asking much. Akte Liebe.
Kind of like, nah, there are no good guys. Yes, good point.
Yeah, that's why it's so meta. That's why this film is so meta.
The next move in the gene will be Trumpists in the Arctic fighting Democrats. That'll be a good one. Yeah, it's just at the end of the day with this film, it will be up there with the classic B movies now. You know.
Yes. Yeah, I could easily see this as part of a box set with Blazing Saddles.
Yeah.
With, goodness, what was the other one that was really, really... Clockwork Orange is right up in the same alley as this is, I think. Because it's absurdist futurism.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
And it came true, too. It's not like Clockwork Orange isn't really close to some of the gang behavior we have today.
Oh, yes.
And Iron Sky is definitely talking about the bizarreness within the woke culture where
I know
everybody's toting that, you know, women could get it done. And these women are getting it done. It's just, I'm not so glad for the idea that they're getting it done the way they're getting it done. Hello, Daniel.
If you would like to join us, I'll post a link on the Twitter feed. Is he on part of Roman's Twitter group?
I don't know. He should be.
Daniel, glad to hear you guys again. Daniel, if you want to join us and give your opinion, I'll post this in Roman's Twitter group quickly. The link for you to come on. The thing is, I just don't know what else to say now because I'm running out of words.
Well, yeah, we've kind of like run through the whole gamut. It just goes to show that the entertainment industry is not willing to suggest, not willing to discuss these matters as openly as they used to. This film is almost proof that the entertainment industry is not interested in discussing these subjects. Because this is a flat out discussion. In the most brilliant tribute to organizations like Monty Python, and Saturday Night Live, where they're taking the subject matter very seriously, but they put a comedic spin on it so that it's more palatable. And they've done it very, very, very well. They've shown their craftsmanship. And that's what makes this movie a cut above the rest. The subject matter is a soaring satirical comedy. Literally taking place on two worlds.
Right, PJ's got to go.
Have a good one, PJ. Safe drive.
You take care.
Give your wife a kiss.
Yeah. Did I get Robbie Williams autograph? Jesus. Uh, and I, to me, in this day and age, with like TV programs, and I know Roman can't be on here, but She-Hulk kind of takes the piss out of the audience, right?
Yes, in a lot of the same ways. That's why I was saying last night, that last finale episode of the She-Hulk should go down in history as a legendary episode of any TV show.
I agree with you there, Daniel. I really agree. Yeah, She-Hulk's kind of taking the piss out of this audience. There are some things that are talking down to its audience, but this ain't. This is giving the audience a great laugh.
Yeah, and presenting that a very gray message as well.
Yeah.
Like we said, there are no heroes in this story.
Yes.
Nobody is a hero in this
Yeah.
story. They've all got their own agendas, including her, and she's been misled. So it's even worse. It's even worse for her.
Oh yes. Well, another one thing I do want to bring up is that this came to a surprise to me. It was distributed in America by Walt Disney Studios.
Yeah, like I said, there's so many metas wrapped inside of other metas.
I don't think Walt Disney would know what they were distributing at that time. They definitely would stay clear of it today.
Well, one could suggest that according to the current woke culture, that Walt Disney would have been interested in this. Not Disney, but Walt Disney.
He probably would be laughing his head off at it.
He would be laughing his head off at this, and he would be foaming up, making a call to Warner von Braun and going, "You've got to see this movie, Warner, because this movie is right up your alley." I could see Warner von Braun having a fantastic time watching this movie.
I know.
To be like, yes, that is the way they would do it. That's exactly what I mean. That is exactly how we would do it. We would always try to seek the moon as a resource, but he would be Dr. Strangelove all of a sudden watching this movie.
Oh yes, yeah.
Because that's who that was supposed to be, right? Warner von Braun was supposed to be Dr. Strangelove, basically. Or vice versa. Flip that around.
I'm going to mention something. It's only been on Disney Plus, shown on there. Disney has no influence over Doctor Who at the moment. They're just distributing it to be shown in America for the rest of the world. That's the deal at the moment, Roman. The BBC has still got their hands on it and that, but who knows? You never know. The icon idents might be swapped around one day. However, we're not here to talk about Doctor Who.
That's right. Although we could.
We could, but we leave that for another time.
Because once again, this movie, looking back on it from present day, now it is 10 years ago that this reached the United States.
Yeah.
Quite literally a decade ago. And since then, I thought this was a funny film when I saw it. But it's gotten funnier since then because of the world we're currently living in.
Yes.
I mean, the guys that are on the moon as, German soldiers, they're not too far off from our current Antifa characters. They're following a regiment. They totally believe that what they're doing is the correct thing to do. And we've got basically a majority female cast.
Yeah.
Supporting whatever is necessary to get the next vote.
Yes.
So it's a satire. It continuously evolves as a satire of itself.
Yes.
Hey, Monka.
Hello, Monkoff. Have you seen Star Trek? The evolution made which led up to this. They are on YouTube. No, I haven't, but I will give that a watch when I can.
Absolutely, yes.
I've got to admit, the director of this, who also wrote it, is a pure genius. You know, and the greatest shame there is that there is sort of like a third movie, but it's still, because the company that owns the rights to this, they unfortunately went out of, well, they folded. They declared bankruptcy back in 2019.
Yeah.
So, two films. The second one, I didn't really think much of it.
Yeah, I mean, it was all right, but it was they didn't have the time to really let it stew
Yeah,
as an idea. They kind of went with their initial jokes, and you could
yeah.
see it. You could see it's a first draftish kind of script,
Yeah.
whereas this one is extremely well polished.
Oh, I'm just looking on the Wikipedia page at the moment. It's a
For Star
shame.
Wreck,
No, of Iron Sky, and Colin will be kicking himself right now. If he was here, well, it's a shame Colin's not here tonight. Apparently, there is relation to this with a book called Rocket Ship Galito, written by none other than Robert A. Hylam.
oh, interesting.
So, and it says here about, it's related with Nazis on the moon. The boys on the radio, the boys radio the location. So, frankly, this is taking it from a Robert Hylam novel.
That's brilliant. And the second title that takes place from the center of the earth.
Yeah.
It's the subtitle is called. This is, I think, the sequel.
Nazis at the center of the moon. No, that's another rip-off by the Asylum.
This one's called the coming race.
Yeah, the coming race, but that relates to more of the lizards type of thing.
Right. Well, there is a Victorian novel or early industrial science fiction called.
Yeah.
It's quite literally called The Coming Race.
Yeah.
Right. The book was published, I think, a turn of the last century.
Mm-hmm.
So 1900s to 20th century. And it's basically a journey to the center of the earth story.
Yeah.
This guy winds up in one of the hidden lands underneath the surface of the earth.
Yeah.
And comes across a species that's been living down there since long before we came into existence. They're fully aware of what's going on the surface. And when this guy finally escapes, he's to warn the people of the earth that these people are coming and they've got some crazy technology and we're in a lot of trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And that was written in, like I said, 1880s, early 1900s.
Yeah. The only thing I did not like about Iron Sky is Samuel Tarsel's character takes a backseat, so to speak, when his character used the main character in the films leading up to this. Yes, I agree.
Which character was that?
Samuel Tosser, it hasn't got the full, people on here. I'll go to the IMDb page at the moment.
Oh, that's funny. They actually list Charlie Chaplin as a cast member. Ha.
I can't find the name on the IMDb page.
He's not. He doesn't seem to be part of the first movie.
He is the leader. Yeah, that's Uta Klein.
Okay.
That's Uta Klein, but
I
didn't know.
Yeah, you do definitely get the sense, and this is, I think, what makes a B movie a classic B movie,
Yeah.
And that's that you get this sense that there's backstory that's not in the film, but you get
Yes.
a good enough sense of it that it feels like it should be there. And that's
Yeah.
good writing. That's how you present good writing. Like when you see the sequence where he's laying out all of his action figures
Oh,
on
yes.
his tactics on how he's going to destroy the earth, and he's
Es-
literally playing with miniatures in midair and making airplane noises and everything. You get a sense
Especially,
of like how long this guy has waited to be able to
yeah,
do this.
especially with the music playing in the background.
Yep. And all the
And
scared generals approaching him.
yeah,
It's
yes, and it's time. And, the music really played along well with this film. That's why I've used the music for our opening title.
mm-hmm.
But I didn't put like the Nazi symbol on it or anything like that. I just took, how can I put it? I don't want to say, I took a footage from the moon going across. It is actually real footage of, I think it was Apollo 13, coming from the dark side of the moon, and then you see Earth in the background. That's what I use for the opening of this.
Right. Right. Yeah, it's great. It's I can't say enough
Yeah.
about this, and
Um,
we've been able to squeak all of our common love for this movie. We're
yeah.
approaching an hour of conversation on this,
Yeah.
and we're basically just kicking the idea around. We didn't
I
present the
know.
slideshow. We
I
haven't
know.
introduced any of the specific characters
I
at
know.
length, and yet we've still covered an hour of just joyous talk about this
Yeah.
great movie.
Yes. Monk, don't worry about the typos anyway. I have problems, getting things wrong. Just ask my mobile phone. Well, all I can say is this. I know it's just the two of us tonight. It's a shame we didn't have anyone else on to give their own opinions about this film.
Um,
Um,
but we had a
but,
lively 5-person conversation in the chat. I'm
oh,
happy
oh
for
yes.
that. Thank you
Oh
guys for
yes.
showing up.
Yeah, thank you very much. We really appreciate it here on this channel. But overall, we're not going to give like a major like stars for this film, like like saying, "What would you give this a 9 out of 10?" I would just like to say is that I would love to see this movie, still be there in the future and not long forgotten.
Mm-hmm.
And what would you say instead of like giving it like your full review or stars?
Well, I think I've pretty much clearly laid out, and I thoroughly agree with you that this is a classic in my opinion. This is one of those movies like Death Race 2000,
Yep.
or I'm trying to think of some of the other ones that were just outright bizarro.
Hi, Jacob Ironside.
Hey Jacob, how you doing? Thanks for showing up. Sleeper, Woody Allen's Sleeper,
Mm-hmm.
which was about basically Buck Rogers told Woody Allen style.
Ah.
If you haven't seen it in a while, that's another one. It's right up the same alley, where it basically takes a premise of a science fiction novel and just plays it for laughs.
Yeah.
Not entirely tongue in cheek, totally serious plot line, but it's right up there. I consider this right up there with those kinds of movies. Like I
Yeah.
said, you could put together a box set of this, Sleeper, Blazing Saddles, Death Race 2000.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think. There's another one. Rollerball is kind
Yeah.
of in the same vein of science fiction, where it's like this thing is hokey as hell, but they're telling a really important message
Yes. Oh,
because it
yes.
has that same techno vibe, the art direction vibe, that they barely had enough money to put this thing together, but they did their very best, kids.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes. And to me, there's not really much any faults with this movie.
No.
So if you get it on Blu-ray or DVD or digital release, it's a shame they don't have VHS anymore because it would have been a great VHS. You know, it's a film you just pick to watch when you want to watch it, and just take you away from with today's modern politics and everything and all what's going on in the world, and you're just getting sick and tired of it. Just stick this film on and have a good old laugh.
Indeed. Yeah, it's apocalypse, comedy apocalypse at its best.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
And for those who haven't seen it yet, it's still available on Pluto TV. It's available on Tubi. It's available on Vudu.
Yeah.
If you have Amazon Prime, it's available on Amazon Prime. It's also available on Freevee for free.
Yep.
I mean, that's 4 free channels. And if you're already prescribed for Amazon, then it's free on Amazon as well.
Oh,
so there's plenty of places to watch it at the time of this recording. way back in 2022, before the world turned to the worst.
Yes.
Good grief. We're in for a ride in the next year or so, kids. I can tell you that.
Hope for the best. Can't we'll get through the storm, but we're just trying to get to ride out the storm, really. But anyhow, right. So we are going to end it here. Before I do advertisement for FFSI, Steve, please tell us what you've got coming up.
Yes, indeed. Let me just get back to my current screen. Let's see what I've got lined up. Yeah, coming up this Thursday, I've got on Roman's channel, Roman of the Empire. We're doing our last chance for a Halloween special. This is now the worst horror movies in our opinion, and Roman's putting together a pretty solid panel. I think Daniel might be joining us. I think maybe even Shield Wall of the Dragon might be joining us as well, possibly Blair to Blair. But we're going to be talking about 3 of our worst horror movies of all time. That'll be on Thursday. And tomorrow on PJ Maybe's channel, we're going to be doing a review of Beetlejuice.
Oh yes, I'll be definitely tuning into that on the catch up, I'm afraid.
And that'll be noon Pacific and 8 p.m. in the UK's. Thursday, of course, will be 5 p.m. Pacific time. So 8 p.m. I think on the East Coast, USA. Pretty late for you guys, though.
Oh, in the morning for us, early in the morning. Well,
so and that's my next couple of days.
And hopefully, Let's Talk Geeky this Saturday, I think, with Jim the Viking.
Yes.
I won't be there because after this tonight, I'm taking a break from streaming for a while because I've got other stuff to concentrate. Yeah. Oh no, that's Jim's. Thank you, Monk, for subscribing to us. And it'll be great if you come on the show one day and give your own opinions.
Indeed.
Now, right. FFSI will be back on the 15th of November. We're paying homage to The Prisoner. And the plan is, what we're going to do is that we are going to, how can I put this? Try and not say certain subjects. And when I mean by subjects, I mean She-Hulk. We can't mention those type of words that like stuff we like. Like today's modern politics. It's like, I'm very lost, Steve. I'm sorry. I'm very lost. Okay. I'll start from the beginning. Take 2. Right. With The Prisoner, they pressed him for information. With what we've got, we are paying homage to The Prisoner. So PJ maybe will be the host of that evening, who is playing number 2. And what he will be doing he'll be pressing us for information, or I say trying to get us to say these certain words to discuss about. But if we say them, we get timed out of the stream for 30 seconds. It means if I give a little demonstration, sorry, Steve, I've got to do this. So, Steve, just say a particular word.
Dr. E.E. Smith.
And Steve's out. And then 30 seconds later, he comes back in and then he restarts. And we were having a point system who will not, let's just say, the more someone gets kicked out, the more they lose the game. So.
Yeah, it's a shame we don't have membership prizes or something like that. So.
Oh yeah, it is quite a shame. But it's like it's something new we want to try.
Mm-hmm.
So it's unplug. I am not a number. I'm a free man. I couldn't call it, unplug number 6 because when I hear the number 6, I think of the prisoner. That's the thing.
That's funny.
Monk, if you can put a link of that in the description here, that would be great. I'll give that a look into. Yeah, so we'll be back on the 15th, and hopefully, if all goes well, because this is my not my grand idea, but grand plan, for November 29th, we are going to be doing a roundtable discussion. Hopefully we can get guests on, because I haven't yet to send out the emails, of looking into the film Troll Hunter, which is a Norwegian film. And the reason why we're looking into Troll Hunter, like doing a look at Troll Hunter, is because it is a promotion. I'm doing it as like a promotion for a new Norwegian film that's coming out on Netflix. And I just want Troll to say Troll Hunter was first before this film is getting released. So what I'm going to do, everyone, this is like a quick preview, just to show you why we're looking into Troll Hunter, because of this new film coming out, because I can't wait to see this. So sorry if it's a bit loud. Here we go.
Gjort av jord och stein.
Med snø rundt hjertet. Is til vei.
Fra mørket kom du. Med lyset denne.
And that is coming out on Netflix on December the 3rd, I think. So that's why we're doing a look into Troll Hunter first, because that was the first troll film, But we're not talking about the cartoon Troll Hunters. No. So that's the idea. That's the idea at the moment. But we'll see you on the 15th. And also, we'll see you around on PJ Maybe's channel and Roman the Empire's channel and John the Blue Creative Guy's channel and all.
Mm-hmm.
So, everybody, thanks for tuning in. Please like, share, and subscribe if you wish. And have a good week. Check out the other YouTube channels. I'll put the links in the description after the show. And everybody, please watch this movie if you get a chance again and have a good old laugh. That's all I can say. Any final words, Steve?
Nope. I think that pretty much nails it. Thanks again for everybody stopping by. We had a great chat, and appreciate all the viewing in the future. I'll be posting Rerub in the Twitters later on this afternoon.
No problem. Okay, anyone, and yes, thank you for that, Monk. As I say, be seeing you. Take care, everybody, and good night.
Ta.